Have you ever woken up thinking you were doing everything right for your kidneys, only to watch your creatinine climb higher month after month, no matter how carefully you eat or how many medications you take? If that sounds familiar, I need you to listen closely, because what I'm about to tell you may be the single most important thing you hear this year. I'm Dr. Richard Hale, and after more than 32 years working with kidney patients across the United States, I've discovered a silent morning mistake that pushes creatinine higher before the day even begins, a mistake so common that nearly 7 out of 10 Americans with kidney issues make it without realizing it. And here's the part that worries me the most. This mistake doesn't just nudge creatinine up a little. It quietly increases inflammation, destabilizes your GFR triggers, blood pressure spikes, and forces weakened nephrons to work twice as hard before you've even taken your first sip of water. This isn't a small lifestyle error. This is the kind of hidden danger that sends patients straight into stage 4, and in too many heartbreaking cases, straight into dialysis months or years earlier than necessary. But here's the good news, and I want you to hold on to this, because the very same morning window that damages your kidneys can also turn into your greatest opportunity to protect them. If you understand what your kidneys are fighting against in the first hour of the day, and you replace the wrong habits with the right breakfast, you can lower your creatinine, stabilize your filtration, reduce inflammation, and give your kidneys the breathing room they've been begging for. And the best part, it doesn't require pills, expensive supplements, or complicated routines. Just 5 simple breakfasts proven by science and used successfully by thousands of patients across America. And once you understand the first one, everything else will finally make sense. When we talk about protecting your kidneys first thing in the morning, steel-cut oats often sound like the safe and healthy choice everyone recommends. But here's the truth. Most Americans never hear oatmeal can either help your kidneys or quietly hurt them. It all comes down to the exact type you choose and how your body reacts in those first fragile minutes after waking up. I've seen this play out countless times in my clinic. One patient, Linda from Arizona, came in confused and frustrated because her creatinine kept creeping higher, even though she was eating oatmeal every single day, convinced she was doing the right thing. But she wasn't eating steel-cut oats. She was eating instant oats, the kind loaded with additives, stabilizers, and hidden sugars that spike blood glucose like a firecracker and send inflammation rushing through kidney tissue before she's even gotten dressed. It wasn't until we switched her to low-sodium steel-cut oats, prepared slowly and rinsed properly, that her creatinine finally stabilized for the first time in 6 months. Steel-cut oats behave differently inside the body. Their glycemic index sits around 42, one of the lowest among common grains, which means your blood sugar rises smoothly, not in a sharp jump that slams pressure against fragile glomeruli. And when you rinse raw steel-cut oats under warm water for just 10 to 15 seconds, you remove surface minerals that reduce their potassium content from roughly 180 milligrams down to closer to 120 per serving, and their phosphorus becomes gentler, around 150 milligrams, a significant difference for weakened kidneys that struggle with mineral overload. Their sodium content stays under 5 milligrams, which is essential for avoiding that early morning blood pressure surge so many patients experience without realizing it. The fibers inside, especially beta-glucan, slow digestion, enough to reduce nitrogenous waste formation, giving the kidneys a calmer, more manageable workload during the crucial first hours of the day. A standard serving, about half a cup uncooked, provides around 150 to 170 calories and 27 grams of slow-release carbohydrates. That's the kind of energy profile that supports your morning without overwhelming your filtration system. Even the protein, roughly 5 to 6 grams, is just enough to feed your muscles without forcing your kidneys to process unnecessary nitrogen waste. And this matters because after an entire night filtering toxins, your kidneys desperately need a gentle start, not a sudden metabolic assault disguised as breakfast. But let me make this clear, even the healthiest food becomes a threat when the portion is wrong. Too much oatmeal increases fiber bulk, carb load, and mineral intake. I've seen patients unintentionally spike their creatinine simply by doubling their morning bowl, thinking more healthy food must be better. It's not. For stage 3, half a cup uncooked is ideal. For stage 4, 1/3 cup is safer. And for stage 5, adjustments must be personalized with your medical team. Precision matters. Your kidneys notice every gram, And here's the transition that really matters. Steel-cut oats might protect your kidneys when done right, but relying on them alone won't save your filtration, and the next morning food is even more misunderstood, yet far more powerful than most people imagine. And once you understand how a simple bowl of steel-cut oats can either protect or strain your kidneys, it becomes even more important to look at what most people reach for next: eggs. For decades, Americans have believed that starting the morning with eggs is a sign of strength, whole nutrition, and good protein. But here's the uncomfortable truth. Most kidney patients never hear whole eggs quietly overload your phosphorus levels before your day even begins. And that early overload is one of the fastest ways to push creatinine higher without warning. I remember working with Paul, a 71-year-old retired firefighter from Michigan. He ate 2 whole eggs every single morning, proud of his clean, high-protein breakfast. Yet his GFR kept dipping, and his creatinine jumped every 3 months, even though he followed every rule his doctor gave him. When we finally examined his breakfast closely, the issue was obvious. Each egg delivered around 95 milligrams of phosphorus, and 2 eggs compounded that into a heavy mineral load his weakened nephrons couldn't handle. That's when we switched him to pure egg whites, and the change was remarkable. Within 8 weeks, his creatinine stopped rising, his swelling reduced, and his energy surged in a way he hadn't felt in years. Egg whites behave differently inside the kidneys. They offer what I call clean protein, about 11 grams per 3 whites, without the phosphorus, without the fat, and without the metabolic waste that forces the kidneys into overdrive during the morning window. 3 egg whites contain just 51 calories, almost zero, fat, zero cholesterol, and critically zero phosphorus. Their natural sodium remains around 55 milligrams, and potassium stays under 75 milligrams, making them one of the safest protein sources for anyone trying to protect filtration. But the real power of egg whites shows up in the way they influence creatinine. Because they generate far less nitrogen waste, your kidneys have fewer toxins to clear, and that calmer metabolic response stabilizes the glomerular pressure that usually spikes after breakfast. And here's something many people overlook. When your body receives clean protein in the morning, it stops breaking down muscle for backup energy. That means it produces less creatine and in turn less creatinine. This is why so many of my patients see morning labs finally improve when they switch from whole eggs to whites. It isn't just about what you eat. It's about how your body reacts in those first fragile hours when your kidneys are most vulnerable. But there's another detail that matters just as much: how you cook them. High heat damages proteins and creates compounds that are harder for your kidneys to process. The safest method is slow cooking on low to medium heat around 130 to 150 degrees Celsius, letting the whites gently coagulate into a soft, fluffy texture. Adding a splash of water instead of oil keeps your breakfast light and kidney-friendly. And instead of spinach, which is high in oxalates, a small amount of finely diced zucchini keeps the potassium low and your filtration relaxed. Still as valuable as egg whites are relying on them, alone won't fix the hidden morning mistake that continues to sabotage kidney patients every day, especially one that looks harmless but behaves very differently inside your bloodstream. But only knowing this isn't enough, because the next breakfast flips everything you thought you knew about safe carbs. And once you realize how clean protein from egg whites can lower the morning pressure on your kidneys, it becomes easier to understand why your next choice, the carbohydrate you eat, can either support your filtration or quietly sabotage it. Most Americans completely misunderstand this because we've spent years hearing that white rice is bad, too simple, or dangerous for blood sugar. But what almost no kidney patient knows is that white rice prepared as porridge behaves completely differently inside weakened kidneys, often becoming one of the gentlest breakfast options you could ever give your body. I still remember my patient Eleanor, a 68-year-old grandmother from North Carolina, who avoided rice for nearly a decade because of her diabetes. She was terrified it would raise her blood sugar and her creatinine. Yet she walked into my office exhausted, bloated, and losing appetite, classic signs of morning metabolic overload. So I asked her what she had been eating for breakfast. Her answer: brown rice toast, bran cereal, and high-fiber healthy options. The problem is, those are some of the worst things a struggling kidney has to face at 7 a.m. Brown rice alone contains nearly 150 to 180 milligrams of phosphorus per cup, not to mention its heavy fiber load that the digestive system of a kidney patient often cannot process efficiently. And high-fiber cereals. They create fermentation in the gut that produces toxins like indoxyl sulfate and picresol toxins directly linked to higher creatinine levels. So I asked her to try something radically simpler, warm white rice porridge. And within 2 weeks, she started telling me she felt lighter, her stomach calmer, her morning swelling reduced, and her labs finally stopped worsening. Why? Because white rice porridge gives your kidneys a soft landing. When cooked slowly with plenty of water, its starch breaks down into a gentle, easily digestible form that produces very little metabolic waste. A half-cup serving contains just 70 to 80 calories, 16 to 18 grams of carbohydrates, barely 1.5 milligrams of sodium and potassium levels as low as 25 to 30 milligrams. That is one of the lowest mineral loads you can give your kidneys in the first hour of the day. And for anyone dealing with declining filtration, this gentle start is priceless. Even better warm porridge triggers a relaxation response in the sympathetic nervous system, meaning better blood flow through the renal arteries and steadier GFR during the first half of the day. This explains why so many patients report feeling calmer, more stable, and less fatigued on mornings they start with porridge instead of dense foods. Diabetic patients can stick to half a cup cooked. Others can enjoy 1 full cup. Dialysis patients may tolerate up to 1.5 cups depending on appetite. The real secret is the softness of the food and the low mineral burden, not the amount of carbs themselves. But here's the part most people overlook. Just because porridge is gentle doesn't mean every topping is. Adding milk, bananas, condensed milk, or sweeteners can instantly turn this kidney-friendly dish into a potassium-heavy, phosphorus-loaded threat. Keep it simple. A bit of grated apple or pear for natural sweetness works beautifully. Still, porridge alone won't solve the mistake most patients make. Next, a mistake hiding inside something as innocent as a morning smoothie. But only knowing this isn't enough, because the biggest shock comes from a drink almost everyone believes is healthy. And once you understand how a gentle bowl of warm porridge can calm your kidneys in the morning, this next point becomes even more important, because the very thing many people believe is clean and healthy turns out to be one of the most dangerous traps for kidney patients. I'm talking about smoothies. Yes, those colorful, nutritious, Instagram-perfect breakfast drinks that are supposed to boost your energy and load your body with vitamins. But for people with weakened kidneys, most smoothies are silent potassium bombs waiting to strike. I'll never forget Brian, a 63-year-old UPS driver from California, who walked into my clinic holding a green smoothie, smiling proudly because he thought he finally found a breakfast approved by every fitness influencer. He drank spinach banana smoothies every morning. It looked healthy, it tasted good, but his potassium levels were creeping dangerously high. His creatinine jumped, and he started feeling muscle weakness. He couldn't explain. When I asked him what was in his smoothie, he listed the usual suspects: bananas, spinach, almond milk, protein powder, all of which are disastrous for anyone trying to protect their kidneys. A single banana can carry 350 to 400 milligrams of potassium. Spinach can push potassium and oxalates through the roof. And protein powder, that's instant nitrogen overload. So I showed him the safer version, a kidney-friendly smoothie made from peeled cucumber, half a cup of blueberries, 1 teaspoon of soaked chia seeds, and cold water. Within a few weeks, his potassium normalized, his creatinine stabilized, and he told me, "Doc, this feels like the first time my body isn't fighting me every morning." Here's why this blend works. 1 cup of peeled cucumber contains only 2 to 3 milligrams of sodium, around 150 to 160 milligrams of potassium, far less than most vegetables, and barely any phosphorus. Blueberries add powerful antioxidants like anthocyanins that protect kidney cells from oxidative stress, and half a cup provides only about 60 milligrams of potassium. Chia water contributes gentle omega-3 fats without the phosphorus load found in nuts or seeds. 1 teaspoon of chia contains around 40 to 45 milligrams of potassium and just 1.5 to 2 grams of protein, low enough to avoid stressing filtration. When blended cold, this smoothie keeps your blood sugar stable, hydrates your bloodstream, and supports smoother filtration through the glomeruli. A full serving of about 10 to 12 ounces contains just 85 to 95 calories, 16 to 20 grams of carbs. 3 to 4 grams of fiber and minimal minerals, making it safe for stages 2, 3, 4, and even many stage 5 patients with supervision. But be careful adding bananas, spinach, dairy milk, or protein powder instantly turns this safe drink into a high-potassium, high-phosphorus threat. And here's the part people rarely think about: the smoothie is only safe because it's controlled. 1 teaspoon of chia seeds is enough. More than that causes bloating, slows digestion, and increases internal abdominal pressure, which indirectly raises creatinine. Still, even this carefully balanced smoothie doesn't address the hidden danger sitting on almost every American breakfast table, a danger disguised inside something as ordinary as a slice of bread. But only knowing this isn't enough, because the real wake-up call comes from a breakfast food nearly everyone buys without realizing the damage it can cause. And once you start to see how a smoothie can make or break your morning filtration, it becomes impossible to ignore the next silent threat or silent opportunity sitting right on almost every American breakfast table: bread. At first glance, toast seems harmless. It's quick, familiar, comforting. But what most kidney patients don't realize is that the wrong toast can quietly damage your kidneys before you even finish your first cup of coffee. The hidden danger isn't in the bread you see, it's in the additives you don't. I remember meeting Sharon, a 74-year-old retired school teacher from Missouri. She came in overwhelmed because her sodium levels kept creeping higher, her ankles were swelling, and every blood test looked worse than the last. But she insisted her diet was very clean. When I asked her what she had for breakfast, she proudly said, "Just toast, olive oil, and a little vegetable side. Totally harmless." Except it wasn't. The toast she was eating contained phosphorus additives, invisible chemicals used in processed bread to keep it soft and fresh. These additives absorb almost instantly into the bloodstream, and unlike natural phosphorus from whole foods, this kind hits the kidneys like a tidal wave. Paired with the high sodium hidden inside most store-bought breads, her kidneys were under attack every single morning without her even knowing. So I switched her to low-sodium, phosphorus-free toast and paired it with olive oil and gently sautéed zucchini. And the transformation was stunning. Her swelling reduced, her energy returned, and her creatinine finally stabilized. Because this combination works the way a kidney-friendly breakfast should: simple, low in minerals, anti-inflammatory, and easy to digest. 1 slice of low-sodium kidney-safe bread has around 70 to 80 calories, 14 to 15 grams of carbohydrates, just 2 to 3 grams of protein, 90 to 120 milligrams of sodium, and most importantly, almost zero phosphorus additives. A teaspoon of olive oil adds 40 calories of heart-healthy monounsaturated fats that reduce inflammation markers like CRP, which directly influence how efficiently the glomeruli can filter. And zucchini, with only 27 calories per cup, 170 milligrams of potassium, and just 19 milligrams of phosphorus, provides soft fiber and hydration that help move waste without straining the kidneys. When put together, this meal lowers glomerular pressure, reduces water retention, steadies blood sugar, and supports smoother movement of creatinine out of the bloodstream. But portion control still matters. Most CKD patients tolerate 1 to 2 slices of bread, a cup of zucchini, and 1 to 2 teaspoons of olive oil. Too much bread increases sodium load, too much oil slows digestion, and adding butter or salty seasonings immediately destroys the kidney-safe profile of the meal. What surprises most people is how something so simple, toast, olive oil, zucchini, can outperform so many healthy breakfast trends. But kidneys don't need trends. They need predictability, softness, low minerals, and stable metabolic demands. Still, even this meal isn't the final piece of the puzzle. Because the truth is, breakfast alone cannot repair your kidneys if you miss the most critical morning habit that determines whether creatinine rises or falls. But only knowing this isn't enough, because there's one more factor outside of food that quietly decides how your kidneys perform for the rest of the day. At this point, I want you to take a deep breath and remind yourself of something important. Your kidneys are not failing you. They're fighting for you. Every single morning, they work through the night's waste, push through pressure, and do everything they can to keep you alive and stable. And the fact that you're here learning, listening, and taking steps to protect them, that already puts you far ahead of where most people ever start. I know how overwhelming kidney numbers can feel. I know the fear that comes with rising creatinine dipping GFR and the worry that maybe tomorrow's labs will look worse than today. But you are not powerless. You've just learned 5 breakfasts that thousands of my patients across the country have used to stabilize their kidneys, lower inflammation, and regain their energy. And you can do the very same thing starting tomorrow morning. Before you go, I want to encourage you to save this video. Keep it somewhere easy to reach because the small decisions you make each morning matter more than any supplement, any trend, or any internet myth. And if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to this channel. I share the latest medical insights, kidney-safe recipes, and daily habits that can help you avoid dialysis, protect your filtration, and take back the confidence you once had about your health. Turn on notifications so you never miss an update that could change the way your kidneys function. And above all, hold on to this: hope kidney disease doesn't move in just one direction. With the right habits, the right knowledge, and the right support, your kidneys can stabilize, and in many cases, they can even improve. Stay consistent, stay patient, and stay hopeful. You're not on this journey alone. I'm here with you every step of the way.